You're listening to Materials Business, the podcast where engineering, leadership, and innovation meet diversity and inclusion. Hosted by Monica Hernandez, engineer, entrepreneur, and industry advocate. When we embrace different perspectives, we create stronger industries, smarter solutions, and lasting impact. Now, let's dive in.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when are you watching us. And thank you for being part of the Material Business Podcast. My name is Monica Hernandez, and I have not one, but two amazing guests with me today. Dr. Reza, I'm going to try your last name, Javaherdashti, and Dr. Arezoo Assarian. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for wanting to share your knowledge with our audience. And we have people listening from all over the world. So we'll let you guys start and we'll keep the questions at the end. So I'll be taking the notes for the questions and then I'll ask questions at the end. So without further ado, it's all up to you, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Monica. Hello, everyone. Good morning to you all. Here it is afternoon. So we will start our presentation. As Monica just mentioned, the presentation will be in two parts. I will do the first part, which is basically an introduction into corrosion in general and microbial corrosion in particular. And Arezoo will do the second part with regards to antimicrobial coatings. Introduction, my name, as Monica tried to pronounce, is Reza Javaherdashti. I have a PhD in corrosion from Monash University in Australia. I also did my postdoc there in Australia at Curtin University. I've been involved in more than 400 corrosion management projects worldwide, and I have had so far more than 5,000 hours of designing and delivering workshops, both in physical form and online form on corrosion management, microbial corrosion, etc., etc. I have also authored several books and papers. At the moment, I am senior advisor at Eninco Engineering BV in the Netherlands, and I'm basically doing consulting work on corrosion related issues, particularly MIC, microbial corrosion projects, for countries around the world, including Canada, the US, UAE, Malaysia. And if you don't mind, we will start with some technical definitions. As you see, just to save time, I'm trying to delve into the core of the presentation. First thing is with regards to the definition of microbial corrosion. Microbiologically influenced corrosion, I see, it is defined as a type of corrosion initiated, enhanced, inhibited by, but not limited to, bacteria. In 1993, NACE, that now has become AMPP, officially accepted the terminology microbiologically influenced corrosion. However, in Europe, for example, most of the time people prefer to call it as microbiologically induced corrosion or microbial corrosion. Several terminologies. However, at the end of the day, the abbreviation is the same, MIC. Although in the US, most of the time they pronounce it as MIC. Anyway, many engineering materials actually are vulnerable to this type of corrosion, including both metals and non-metals. Therefore, materials such as composites or even plastics, polymers, they are also vulnerable to microbial attack. They are not immune. The cost of corrosion normally is floating between 3% to 6% of GNP of our country. Of this, about 20% is believed to be consumed by microbial corrosion. I mean, if you just do the calcs, you will see that minimum annual direct cost of microbial corrosion to the industry of any country will be in billions. But I have a bad habit. This habit is that I deliberately make mistakes in my presentations so that I will make sure that my audience are really listening to me. They are not just watching the slides going one after another. In the very first slide, I deliberately made a mistake. Can you pick it up? Okay. The mistake I made, deliberately made, was that I defined microbial corrosion as a type of corrosion. It is not a type of corrosion. It is electrochemical corrosion per se. It means that you need to have anode, cathode, electrolyte, and a metallic pad for electron transfer. And therefore, when we talk about microbial corrosion, we are not talking about something like hocus pocus. It is electrochemical corrosion. And therefore, if you know what corrosion is all about, then you will be able to define microbial corrosion. All right. Now, why microbial corrosion is important? Let me just share with you some case histories. And these case histories are coming from my book, that is a first ever of its kind. You see the title of the book, and there have been contributors to this book from different industries from all around the world. And here I would like to thank all of them. The first that I have selected comes from this, a super duplex stainless steel from a subsea hydraulic line. You see these cracks. Let me explain a little bit more. As you see here, actually, the cracks, they have started from the internal side of the line, far from the welded joint. Why I picked up this case? Because most of the time, when people talk about microbial corrosion, they say that, you must be very careful about heat-affected zone. MIC cracks or MIC-related cracks start from, a welding zone. Not necessarily. They could even start far from welded joints. And as you see, this poor guy has been in service for just 6 years, which is quite short. Another example is steel pipe topside that has about 11 millimeter thickness. It is vertical, and still you see that it has experienced microbial corrosion problem because it had some oily water in it for some time, and it has experienced a corrosion rate of more than 5 millimeter a year, and it has been in service just for 2 years. Why I picked up this particular case? Because you will hear some people say that if the asset, for example, a pipeline, it's in vertical form, so that under the influence of gravitational force, the fluid will not come into a stagnant situation and it will flowing, then you will not experience MIC. This is not correct. Here, the pipe was in vertical form, yet it just survived 2 years. Another example is this one, stainless steel 316. As you can see, it has been very badly corroded. It has been exposed to untreated raw water. It had some chloride content, less than 75 ppm, and actually it has been, here the failure has been a combination of several factors, such as incomplete welding practice, as well as being exposed to stagnant water and therefore having corrosion, microbial corrosion. This is another example, martensitic stainless steel taken from a Christmas tree equipment. This, as you can see, has been exposed to heating as a result of microbial corrosion. Again, you see the possible role of being exposed to stagnant water. So having stagnant water could be a factor that would give rise to microbial corrosion, but not necessarily all of the time. This poor guy shows you an example of mild steel pipe taken from industrial water distribution system. Actually here, not one, but actually 3 types of bacteria had been active on it. Sulfur-reducing bacteria, SRB, iron-reducing bacteria, IRB, and acid-producing bacteria, APB, untreated industrial water. And my favorite, hydrotest. More than 95% of pipelines used in oil and gas industries are being hydrotested. What happens is that the water after hydrostatic testing, most of the time remains inside the pipe. They cannot be actually removed due to practical reasons. The water that remains in the pipe, because it's mainly coming from natural sources such as rivers or sea or whatever, they do have some bacteria in it. And during the course of time, they would start to actually induce corrosion, particularly on heat affected zone, on welding. And that's why most of the time we do encounter post hydrotest microbial corrosion, which is a very important issue. Here, before I go further, I would like to very briefly introduce to you three important points that I call as brief technical introduction. You would not find these 3 points in any corrosion books, manual, or presentation. First, there are two approaches towards microbial corrosion. One approach is what I call as material based. For example, you may be interested in knowing how carbon steel or stainless steel will do with regards to microbial corrosion. Another approach is system-based. You may say that, my friend, I'm not interested in knowing how carbon steel 60, for example, is doing with regards to microbial corrosion. Salvage my pipeline, salvage my heat exchanger, salvage my system. These two approaches are not antagonistic. They are not against each other. They are just two approaches. Most of the time, normally, a material-based approach is the one that academics prefer. If you want to do a master's degree or a PhD degree, your supervisors will give you a certain material. They will tell you, this is your material. Go and find out how it's performing against this or that bacteria. And then you do it and you get your PhD or whatever degree. However, industry actually is concerned about how their assets are doing. And this is the main gap between industry and university. If we know the background where an industry guy coming from and where an academic is coming from, then it will be much easier to start a dialogue between them. Another thing is likelihood and risk. This is a very simple example of what we call as a risk assessment matrix. Risk has a mathematical definition. It is byproduct of likelihood and consequence. What does it mean? It means that although the likelihood of a danger, for example, microbial corrosion in your system, could be unlikely or even rare, just because you have cathodic protection or you are using biocide, blah, blah, blah. Just because the likelihood is low, it does not necessarily mean the risk is low too, because it has another term, which is consequence. If, for example, due to microbial corrosion, you encounter major or critical consequences in terms of money loss or damage to the environment, then the risk is always high. This is one of the main points that actually many industry managers do not get it. They think that because they are using biocides, they are using corrosion-resistant alloys, therefore they assume that, okay, the likelihood of microbial corrosion in my system is low, therefore the risk is low. No, my friend, it is not as such. Consequences are different. And this is actually what I have explained for the first time to the best of my knowledge in my book, A Global Warning on Corrosion and Environment. Corrosion has very important impacts and effects on environment. And therefore, in this book, I introduced, I coined a lot of terminologies so that a corrosion engineer and environmental engineer could actually communicate with each other. This is another point. Then maybe you have heard about risk-based inspection, RBI. Many people speak about that. They say, as per API 580, we have done RBI. Okay. When it comes to microbial corrosion, in order to be sure that you have done your homework correctly, you have to go through these 3 steps. First, you have to be able to determine the risk. In order to be able to determine the risk, you have to be able to determine the POF, probability of failure. And in order to be able to determine probability of failure, you have to know the mechanism. Therefore, if you have, for example, if you have a pipeline and you say that, oh, yes, I'm sure about microbial corrosion, I have done RBI about that, and you don't know what microbial corrosion is all about, actually, you have done nothing. You have just wasted time and money. So this is also another interesting thing. Under realistic working conditions, corrosion reactions occur either as series or parallel. These two geometries are very important to know. Why? When you have a series, and I will explain, I will give you an example of these two. When the corrosion issue in your industrial system is of series nature, it means that there is at least one important corrosion or a corrosion process that triggers the rest. So if you find the main culprit and solve it, the corrosion issue in your system is cured. However, if you are not that lucky and you have several corrosion reactions taking place simultaneously, then you are actually facing with a parallel geometry of corrosion reactions. You have solved one, but it does not mean that you have solved all of them. Let me give you an example. Suppose you have a buried pipeline. Corrosion issues externally and corrosion issues internally, they are parallel corrosion issues. If you have external corrosion, you may apply coating, you may apply catalytic protection, but this will not have any effect on internal corrosion of your pipe. External and internal corrosion reactions are actually parallel. Therefore, you need to be aware of that. And as you can see, the whole picture could be quite complex. Now, MIC management. This is the point that I found after wasting my time in industry for over 30 years. Believe me, what does it mean? Most of the time, when people in industry find out that they have a MIC problem, they go for finding the best biocide, the best material, the best coating. That is the best tactics. However, what they needed to do was to first know their enemy. First, you must have a strategy. First, you have to do a screening. You must understand what type of bacteria, for example, you have in your system. And not only that, these bacteria, what are the mechanisms by which these bacteria interact with each other and induce corrosion? And after that, you need to decide if you want to prevent corrosion or you want to control corrosion. If, for example, you have a greenfield, that means everything is under your control, you can change parameters, etc., etc. This means that you can go for prevention of corrosion. However, if you have a system plant that's been going for 4 years, 5 years or so that it can be considered as a brownfield project, you cannot prevent corrosion because corrosion is a thermodynamically favorable reaction. All you can do, my friend, is just controlling it. And it is after knowing your enemy during a strategy phase that you can define the best tactics, the best inspection, the best monitoring strategies. In industry, what happens is that they go for tactics. They put the horse at the back of the cart. All right, some quick microbiology. Let me tell you this. People, trees, animals, we are far from bacteria and their cousins, archaea, in many ways. One important thing is that bacteria and archaea, they have very complex, let's say, very confusing and very advanced properties that will allow them to survive under very stressing conditions like high temperature, high salinity, even radiation. And that's why when we talk about bacteria and their cousins archaea, we have to be careful because we are talking about very smart tiny little things that have been around for billions of years. Archaea and bacteria are like left hand and right hand. They are similar, but they are not the same. There are several ways by which researchers actually identify and classify bacteria. I'm not going through all of it, just a few. One is oxygen requirement. Bacteria could either love oxygen, they are called obligate aerobes. They could love a little bit of oxygen, microaerophils, as the name implies, microaerophils. Or they may not love oxygen. They are called obligate anaerobes. The notorious sulfur-reducing bacteria is an obligate anaerobe. And perhaps the most dangerous ones, facultative anaerobes. They can switch between aerobic and anaerobic conditions. If you have oxygen, they are happy. If you don't have oxygen, you are happy too. And capnophils, they love CO2. Why I mention CO2? Because if by any chance, somebody from industry is watching this presentation and he or she is familiar with hydrostatic testing, he knows that after water is removed from a pipeline, for example, they fill it with an inert gas like CO2. For God's sake, remember your chemistry courses. Who says on Earth that CO2 is an inert gas? Argon is an inert gas. That's when mechanical engineers or metallurgical engineers, I'm a metallurgical engineer, by the way, we enter into issues we don't understand. We call CO2 an inert gas. No, my friend, it is not. And actually, if you are not that lucky, in the water that has remained in the pipe, you may have capnophils that would use CO2 as food. And here you go. You actually, by filling the pipe with CO2, it is like giving Homer Simpson a box of donuts. It is just like that. You give the bacteria the food they require. Metabolism. And when it is aerobic, that is, the bacteria need oxygen, life is easy. It is just like us. But when it is anaerobic, it is difficult. Actually, they don't like oxygen. And it is actually one of the reasons that some people say that bacteria such as SRB actually may have come from outer space. Because on the Earth, we have oxygen environments, and these guys don't like it. Now, I don't want to confuse you with all these microbiology things. This is the most important thing. Now, for those of you who don't know microbiology, I would like to use an example. If you remember from electrochemistry, we say that we have anode and cathode. At anode, electrons are released. At cathode, these electrons are received. Microbiologists, instead of saying anode and cathode, they use their own terminology. Electron donors, it means the anode, and electron receivers, the cathode. Carbon and hydrogen are always electron donors. What makes the difference is the electron acceptors. Sulfate, disulfate, blah, 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 blah. What is the engineering importance of that? That's a very interesting thing. You may not have sulfate in your system, yet you may have sulfate-reducing bacteria. Let me repeat it again. You may not have sulfate in your system, yet you can have sulfate-reducing bacteria. How come? Because instead of sulfate, you may have nitrate. Instead of sulfate, you might have CO2. And therefore, if you are working in a power plant and as a corrosion inhibitor, you are applying nitrate and you know that you have a microbial corrosion problem, then may heavens have mercy on you because you are feeding bacteria. I have faced with many engineers who have come to me and say, Reza, you know what? We don't need to be worried about SRB because we did a chemical analysis of water and we don't have sulfate. Yes, you may not have sulfate, yet you may have sulfur-reducing bacteria. All right, temperature. Bacteria could be mesophils that actually survive temperatures that normally we refer to as room temperature. They could be thermophils or archaea. They go for temperatures even above 120 degrees centigrade. And they could be psychophils. Psychophils are very interesting. You know why? Because in your house, the dirtiest place to find bacteria is actually your refrigerator. Because in your refrigerator, you will have lots of psychophils. That's why if you leave some food stuff in refrigerator and leave it for some time, you will see that it will decay. I can assure you that I'm saying this as an eyewitness. I have I have experienced that many times. Okay, now a few examples of CRB, CRA. This CRB, CRA is the terms that I had invented. Corrosion-related bacteria, corrosion-related archaea. Why? Because it is not that bacteria always increase corrosion. No, sometimes under certain conditions, they actually can slow down corrosion. So that's why I invented the term corrosion-related bacteria, not corrosion-enhancing bacteria or archaea. These are some examples: sulfur-reducing bacteria, sulfur-oxidizing bacteria. These guys, sulfur-oxidizing bacteria, they can produce sulfuric acid at a pH 2 or lower than that. Iron-oxidizing bacteria, iron-reducing bacteria, Clostridia. I have particularly worked on SRB and IRB myself, and that's not all. There are more than 15 types of bacteria found in seawater. I had explained all these and many more in my book, Biological Treatment of Microbial Corrosion, published by Elsevier. And knowing that, then you will start scratching your head. How come some people say that SRB are the main bacterial concern for the oil and gas industry? No, my friend, this is not true. So be aware that sometimes people may actually mislead you with giving you half-true information. For example, you remember this guy said SRB are the most important bacteria in oil, blah, 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 blah. Now, recent studies from many oil fields around the world, from India to Canada, China, Turkey, show that SRB are not actually as important as we used to think. It is actually Clostridia, Pseudomonas, and Bacillus which are more important. And when bacteria find each other, oh my God, they do the best ever teamwork one can think of. For example, aerobic bacteria that use oxygen, they deplete oxygen and then pass the bucket to SRB. The oxygen now is deoxygenated. The environment is deoxygenated. There is no oxygen in it. So SRB will take over, and here you go. You get cyclic action of bacteria. Iron-reducing bacteria, lime-forming bacteria, methane-producing bacteria. I will very briefly introduce them. As you see, I'm trying to just go as quickly as possible so that Dr. Arezoo will have time to explain her work. SRB, these guys don't like oxygen. They can survive a pH between 5 to 9.5. They can even withstand pressures up to 500 atmospheres. They are amazing. And actually, there are theories that say these theories are not collectively known as electrical MIC, that says these bacteria actually sit directly on the surface of the metal. They grow nanowires and they actually suck up electrons directly from metal, creating corrosion rates in the vicinity of 36 mpy. In order to give you how significant 36 is, as you see, according to NACE specification, if the corrosion rate is above 12 mpy, you are in red zone. And you remember, the minimum or the mean value of corrosion rates that you could experience with SRB is 36. Then iron-reducing bacteria, these guys actually convert insoluble ferric ions into soluble ferrous ions, and therefore they increase corrosion. Under certain conditions, IRB could actually slow down corrosion. Then we have slime-forming bacteria such as Pseudomonas. These guys not only induce corrosion, they are also actually causing health problems, like, for example, as you see here, nail infection or wound infections. Therefore, they are really very dangerous and they are capable of increasing corrosion rates. Then we have methane producing bacteria. These guys actually produce methane gas, and they are one of the most amazing bacteria because they can contribute into corrosion by several mechanisms. Then we have this concept of biofilm, which is a wrong term to address a right procedure. In water environment, we don't know how biofilm formation happens in soil, but in water, what happens is that freely swimming bacteria, they realize by using their senses, like Coulomb sense, they realize that now food is not in bulk water, but on the surface. They sit on the surface, and then by time they start to actually constitute a net. And this net, this layer, by time would induce peating. However, it is when you hear the term biofilm, you assume that it is 110% biological stuff and it is a film. Neither is true. They are not like film. As you see, this is an example. They have some sort of fluffy sort of a structure. They are not film, and they are not all made up of biological stuff. So in 2020, I published a paper in which I suggested that instead of saying biofilm, which is a wrong term, it's better to use another term, which is a Greek term, amenos. I have explained my reasons in this paper. If you would like to study, there are mainly 8 ways by which corrosion in general and microbial corrosion in particular can be addressed. You may use inhibitors, chemical. You may use coatings, physical. You actually create a barrier, a physical barrier between the material and the environment, coating. You may use pigging or scrubbing. You may use catalytic protection. You may also use material selection. Instead of carbon steel, you use, duplex stainless steel. Design modification is also another way of dealing with corrosion and microbial corrosion. Training and modeling are very important. Normally, in no book, these last 2 options, that is modeling and training, are explained in full detail. When you use modeling, when you use advanced mathematics in order to predict how your system is going to actually behave, that will save you a lot. Dr. Arezoo has recently written a paper that hopefully will be published soon. In that paper, she has used a mathematical approach called trees, and that actually is something that in corrosion literature is rather unknown. Now, I finished my part by quoting from my hero, Mr. Paul Dyer, who said, if you think it's expensive to hire a professional, wait till you hire an amateur. Then you will see your day. Coating is what my friend and my colleague, Dr. Arezoo Assarian, will explain. This is her brief resume. You can go through it. And let me tell you that now you are going to listen to a scientist. I have always called her the Madame Curie of coating science. You will see when she does her presentation. Okay.
My name is Dr. Arezoo Assarian. I'm a CEO and also innovator of Eneco groups in Croatia and in the Netherlands. I'm one of the pioneers for producing innovative coating and new generation of coatings based on multifunctional microcapsules.
Perfect.
So today I have some good news for you. You heard during valuable presentation by Dr. Reza what is exactly the problem, the challenges, and existing challenges which are not answered by all innovators or professional groups. But I have very good news for you. Just be with me and we can show you how we can change everything, all the scenarios of the problems, challenges with corrosion, especially antimicrobial corrosion, MIC. I'm a magician. Could you believe it or not? Yes, it's correct. Before some years ago, I started thinking about that, the new generation of coating, innovative coating. And this idea gave me big dream to just try find a solution for answering to all challenges together, not in one side, not as a functional group, as multifunctional groups. Please, next one. Today I want to explain about coating. What is exactly a coating? A coating is a layer, professional engineered layer of paint can cover the surface. Coating is not a paint, but is reinforced paint, can cover the surface, give beauty to surface, give protection on surface. And with that protection can bring all safety for your surfaces, substrates. But paint cannot do that. Paint is a thin layer you apply on surface to give the surface beauty. For example, you apply the coating on the walls of your dining room, your workroom, or so on. But when you apply a coating, for example, antimicrobial coating, anti-corrosive coating, self-healing coating, and so on, you have some reason to apply that to protect the surface. And this protection can be determined to be for a short time as a very short protective surface or for permanent protection. Please, next one. As I showed in a previous slide, a coating containing different type of material, and you mix them together and achieve to a very suitable and harmonized complex of material. All coatings containing four important materials, binder or resin, pigments, and also fillers. We put fillers or extenders in the category of pigments. Why? Because both of them more or less working as extenders or filler can help to pigment to do better its roles. And third ingredient is solvent or water based on the basic of the coating. You have two different type of coating. If the solvent you are using is solvent borne or solvent based, if you are using water to give viscosity, control the viscosity of the coating, it's water based. The only thing do solvent and water give possibility to controlling drying time and controlling viscosity. And the fourth ingredient is additives. All these ingredients I explained, they have a certain role. For example, binder or resin is the main ingredient. Give the name to the coating. If you're manufacturing your coating, you just use polyurethane. A binder, the name of your coating is polyurethane coating. And pigment give possibility to that binder or resin to do better and do all role you dictate and writing for the coating to do later. Solvent I already explained, and additives do very special things. You can buy additive, give possibility, give option, such as in you buy a car and with options change the quality or performance or productivity of your car. Some cars, same brand, same model, but the options different. For coating also, the same scenario and story. You can control the quality and productivity by adding some different type of additives, such as, for example, anti-skidding, or I don't know, anti-settling or UV resistance, increasing waterproofing, and so on. But recently, from early of 2000s when I started manufacturing and producing, formulating smart coatings, but I call them innovative coatings, the next generation of coatings, because of some smart possibility, some special possibility that coating has. We add a fifth group. The name is functional microcapsules or nanosensors or advanced coatings. With this raw material, you give to your coating possibility to think, possibility to take some decision when is necessary, but all under your control. And always I name them smart coatings can think and also after the thinking reacts. Think and reacts. This is one important thing create a big difference between conventional system and advanced system. Next one, please. You can see here what is exactly the core purpose of a coating, why we are using coating. Coating, first of all, the most important layer can protect surface against many attacks. For example, corrosion happened on metal and non-metal. But because Dr. Reza is here, corrosion is the term using only for metal problems, but for non-metals, we use the right term deterioration. Yes, Dr. Reza? And for the other attack, we can see UV degradation, abrasion, wear, or impact, or microbial attacks. Use coating to protect them. The second core purpose is decoration or aesthetics. Give color, I explained, change the imitation, for example, be shiny or matte or semi-matte, the change of texture or some special appearance of coating. And third one, what is very important, functionality. You can see in this slide, I explained a lot of different functionality we can give to coating, and core purpose can define by request from the market, request from the client. I just listen to the client, write all challenges and think about what exactly should do the coating I formulate and give to my client. Next one, please. We have the different type of classification of coating based on, I told you, based on the binder, based on the solvent, water-based, solvent-based, based on application, based on chemical composition. But here you can see different type of coating, classification of coating based on chemical composition. We have organic coatings, inorganic coatings, and hybrid coatings. And I, by myself permission, add two different type onto this classification: smart functional coatings and metallic coatings. All of them do different type of protection. But what is very important, this classification not conflict with their application. Next one, please. As I explained, we have also classification by application method, different type of application. When I started early of 1000 working on, first of all, I started working on self-healing coating. I just thought, what if I manufacture or produce a very special coating, but the price is very high. The application method is very difficult and necessary to have a professional operator. It's not working. There is a lot of companies, they are working now on innovative coatings, but they are not able to sell that. It's not commercial product. If we want to give a coating possibility to be in market and start working on the system, should be first cost effective. Second, the application method should be very easy for applier. When I presented in 2006 that I decided to match this new generation of coating apply by conventional system, everyone laugh on me. And they told me, it's look like you look at a lot of Hollywood films or science fiction movies, but it's not true. I decided and I work on that, and I'm very pleased, and it's my pleasure to inform everyone I was successful for all of coating I formulated, these smart coatings or innovative coatings formulated. It's possible you apply it on application method, not but by one of them, with all of them. This is very important. You can see different type of method: brush, roller, I don't know, deep coating, coil coating, powder coating. Depend on your desire. The coating can designed and also formulated to be ready and match with your system, to not give the stress to owner of the project. Next one, please. We have also a classification by functional behavior. You can see here we have different type of coating behavior. Barrier coatings in the shipyard, shipbuildings, platforms, heavy duty system, and a lot of industries. Decorative coatings, constructions, interior or exterior. For high performance protective coating, when in very high duty system or aerospace you are using. And at the end, functional and smart coatings, you can use that for all the different type of behavior, functional behavior. These give us possibility to spread this. We can be active in very wide border, not in limited as conventional system. Our hand is open and we can do what we want. Next one, please. I just mentioned very summary about the history of smart coatings technologies coming very early 2000s. I just remember that when started by a special binder produced by Bayer company. Today the name is Covestro company. That resin was one of the brilliant um, um, raw material ever I worked with that. And you can see from 2000 to 2020, maybe it's just 20 years, but changes was a lot. Coming 3D printing, printable innovative coatings or AI driven, I didn't believe that how much very fast changes. But something I have to mention, in all industries, the changes was very fast. You just look at the electrical industries, mobile phones. From when coming the first generation of mobile phone, maybe Monica cannot remember, she's very young, but I'm old enough to remember that coming from Motorola company and Ericsson. Where are they? They just removed from old system and coming iPhone, Samsung, and the other companies. Why? Because if you just focus on some very certain formulation, we have to this one, add to that one, match with this one, and finish it. It's not working. R&D is the important part of a company. Don't like to prevent, they don't have. I don't like presenting they didn't have R&D system, but R&D should be flexible with changes, adapting with the system. Automotive industry, same story. From a day coming the very new brand of Mercedes-Benz or I don't know, BMW or the other brands to coming today, electrical cars. The gap was very, very short. But for coating, the story is not same. You can see 20 years just professionals working to change the system. But still, today, we are here, 2025, we are using conventional system. 3-layer, 4-layer of coatings apply on pipelines, shipyard, shipbuildings, and platforms. Why I'm bringing all the time a sample example from onshore or offshore system because it can contaminate water system and ecology. And it's very important we adopt the system of producing coating. The time for producing a coating with one possibility finished when you apply primer, medium coat, top coat, finish coat, final layer as a lacquer. It's finished. Now it's time adopting. Next, please. In our subject about antimicrobial coating, also we have a lot of problems. This is the subject today. Traditional antimicrobial coatings. Now existing a lot of different solution, but all the solution aren't as a permanent solution. They are working in very certain time. For example, now one of the very common solution using biocides. I'm one of the professionals 100% disagree with using biocide. Why? These biocides, such as silver or copper or so on, they kill the bacteria. And bacteria, microorganisms, microbes, doesn't matter what Dr. Reza explained about different type of them. But when we kill them by that biocide, the body of them release, for example, if we are using as anti-fouling system in shipyards, later when in the sea or ocean release this material, kill the microbes, their body release inside the water. And this is the source of feeding later planktons or small fish. And that fish is the also source of food for bigger, and this circle coming to our body at the end, and it's the source of a lot of problem, a lot of problem in our body, such as different type of cancers. The other problem, traditional antimicrobial coatings working in very short time activity. They are not smart. They cannot decide. You just give some material and they are continuously working on that. But the problem, microbes and microorganisms and the others can adapt themselves with these materials. They can design algorithms to find some adoption with them, if I correctly presenting Dr. Reza. And also this non-intelligent material cannot be responsible for protecting surface for long term with changing temperature, with changing pH of water, changing the UV situation, the content of salt, the content of microorganisms. They cannot do as they should do. I don't know you understand me perfectly, but they cannot work perfectly as we expected of them. Next one, please. Structural antimicrobial coatings. These structural antimicrobial coatings is a little bit very interesting. Their surface is such as a nano-pattern. The surface of these structural antimicrobial coatings is, most of them is super hydrophobic to not give possibility microorganisms stick on the surface, not controlling they are there. And when finish this material, that material cannot working always. That material is on the final level of film of coating. And when finish that material, the microorganisms or the other type of microbes, they are waiting. Now it's not security. There is no guard. We can attack immediately. And the other type of, if I want to explain about a structural antimicrobial coating, their skin is such as shark skin. There is a lot of such as some layers, very sharp layers on surface, and microbes or microorganisms can trapped between that layers. All the layers overlap each others. Also, there is problem, all the microbes or microorganisms can adapt themselves with them. But what is very important, they are working perfectly for healthcare or food processing or HVAC because they expect very short time of them, not long time. But for industrial reason, the story is not same. Next one, please. Here I just mentioned different type of techniques existing for producing smart coatings or innovative coatings. The green ones, what I'm using now. I love mixing methods, mixing different type of raw materials. And I think different type of methods give possibility to more and more powerful to the technique. I'm using the combination of these three different technique. The red one is the most expensive and the best one, but it's very expensive. If I use that one, the final price, commercial price of the coating was dramatically increased. But I just used that three different and achieved to very cost-effective price. You can see the other one in black color and all the techniques working and a lot of companies using different type of these techniques. Next one, please. Here, it's very important things. What I'm using, what I did. You can see here different type of antimicrobial innovations, microcapsules, nanosensors, photocatalytic antimicrobial system, and biopatterned system. But what is very important, I did all of them in one system. Now we have possibility, these 4 different type have in one multifunctional microcapsules. Just imagine it, how can work a coating. If this is a surface or this is a substrate, you want to apply a coating, you just cover a layer of coating on that. That means your coating put on the surface and existing interface between 2 layers. But with this system I innovated, there is no interface. When there is no interface, that means you can achieve to 100% adhesion. 100% adhesion just can be happen when you penetrate to the structure of substrate. For that, maybe I cannot explain a lot because of the secret of the technology, but just explain a little bit about that. You imagine this is the surface. When coating coming, not cover the surface, then do something like that. Create directly bonding with surface, penetrating the surface. And if it's necessary, such as venom, just penetrate inside the skin. This system doing something like that. And that coating containing a lot of possibilities. Please next. I have to explain. I already explained about that. You can next one, please. Here, you can see here the different layer. You can see the core layer. What is very important, we have to just classify what is problem. I ask the owner of the project, what is your problem exactly? You want to have antimicrobial coating? Also that coating protect your surface against thermal shock, UV radiation, impact, scratches, and everything. Okay, I will do that. And I just put it in different layer of these microcapsules. With putting inside the different layer, you need to have different inner shell. If you want to have different inner shell, you have to combine all the system to be compatible together. Next one, please. Here you can see a multifunctionality in microcapsules. I explained the layered architecture for multiple functions. What exactly we can do? We can give different activity of nanoparticles or the other material. I mentioned inhibitors, but I'm not using, but we can use that. We can add different type of nanoparticles. We can add sensors, semiconductors, inhibitors, or what we want to different layer and give them a code, coding them to do when is necessary. What exactly can do microcapsules? One microcapsules can sense, protect, heal, and defend, making it a compact, multifunctional, smart system. What does it mean? We can have everything different type of coating do in one package. We offer in one package solution can do everything, not for short time, for a long time. For some of them, you can counting as a permanent solution. But working on that, it's not finished yet. Next one, please. The current and future trends, it's totally clear. Sustainable and eco-friendly smart coating can focus for controlling all biodegradable microcapsules to what can they do to give maximum eco-friendly possibility to a coating and zero VOC, volatile organic compound percentage. Also for AI and smart materials, you can give the role to them, modeling them, design them to do something very high level productive coating. And multifunctional system, what I explained about that, this is the best one because can do everything. For system based on sensors, nanosensors inside, the best one, which recently we passed the sixth level of TRL, it will be really big magician. You can apply on surface the walls of your room, interior or exterior. You can apply it on your car, or you can apply that on your furniture for aerospace everywhere, and you can control them. With them, you no need to use alarm system, thief alarm system, smoke alarm system. I don't know. You no need to have sensor for external sensor for controlling temperature at your room, your space, for impact sensors. I don't know any sensors. You just can give them your desire, what you expect of that coating, and it can do that. It's not designed for doing a certain job. You can do that with application. We start negotiating with one of the biggest important company in the United States. Unfortunately, until we not finished signing the contract with them, but they will work on application, and that application you can download on your mobile phone, on your laptop, connected to your TV, your GPS in your car, or anywhere, any electronic devices, and you can give the coating to do what you want. You give them the coating, the order, it should inform you when the percentage of oxygen at your room is low. You can inform them if the weather is dense or changing in temperature or changing in any system, and it can be a new gate opening to the future. Next one, please. I explain about that. The future of intelligent coating system is controlling, thinking, and doing, and reacting. Again, I repeat it. Smart coatings, innovative coatings can think and react. Next one, please. I just in detail explained about conclusion. You can see here what is important. You can see for a smart coating system, they are enable sensing, reporting, and protection on real time when is necessary. With conventional system, when you realize when it's very late, and Dr. Reza coming and say, oh, the system finished, deterioration is on your system, or corrosion and microbial corrosion on your system, you should just change everything. But with that coating, you can find the right time. You can use all intelligent materials such as self-healing agents. I don't know, maybe inhibitors when I'm not love that, but I have to present it. And also active microbial response. And also you can always have possibility predict maintenance alert. When is necessary, you are there. Such as when somebody has a little bit a headache and immediately go to the doctor and doctor find, oh, this is maybe reason later for your eyes problem, or I don't know, your blood pressure is high. This is exactly same as that. When is necessary, alarm you. Hey, be careful. You have to do, you have to react. Next one, please. I just want to thank you so much for your time. And I hope if you have any question, contact with me via my email address. And I will be really, very pleased to inform you further about this technology. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica.
Thank you both. It was really informative. I took notes all over. I can't imagine if 20 years ago you presented an idea like this and they said, you must watch a lot of TV. Because even
Yeah.
now, figuring it out and saying this really works,
Yeah.
it's like, wow, this is it. This is really cool. It's like those little cartoons that we watched when we were kids, and then everything was controlled with one control instead of having
Yeah.
40,000
Exactly.
million controls.
That's right. When I was a kid, if somebody had told me that one day with your handset, you can take a picture, you can listen to radio, you can listen to music, I would have said that he's on drugs. And now everything is integrated within one simple device. I think in this sense, what Dr. Arezoo has been working on, more or less, can be set equivalent to the future generation of coatings where various defensive mechanisms are actually collected in one single product that, as she also mentioned, can be applied by conventional methods. You don't need two advanced methods to apply. And by the way, I think it is also interesting to know that you could have a solution that in a sense fits for all. You can use it on your household, you can use it on a spaceship and get the result as per request from the client. That's amazing. And let me just tell you something that maybe your audience may think of. Why we are emphasizing upon saying antimicrobial, not antibacterial. What is the difference? The difference is actually quite huge. All bacteria are microbes, but not all microbes are bacteria. This is a very important distinction, so that if we say that we have, especially that became some sort of trend during Corona times, that, yeah, we have this antibacterial coating, blah, blah, blah. That was all just, uh, bogus. Just fake. But when you think on a wider sort of, when you try to see the forest instead of trees, then you see that if you have developed something that could be against microbes, that means that it could also actually deal with bacteria without just killing them. As Dr. Arezoo correctly mentioned, this is one of the problems, Monica, that especially because you also have this experience with oil and gas industry, you know it much better than I do, that especially for offshore platforms on strainers, one thing that happens is the problem with biofouling. And when biofouling happens, and for example, you kill the bacteria or whatever, then you have the problem of how to deal with the dead bodies of the bacteria, because these will act as what you call it as layers that later can give rise to under-deposit corrosion. And this is a very important issue. Thank you very much, both you, Monica, for being for us, for being on your Sunday. Thank you, Dr. Arezoo. I actually learned a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Monica.
Thank you both.
Thank you, Dr. Reza.
Thank you
You're welcome.
for coming. We normally ask our guests to give a final message to the audience. So what would it be your last message to the audience?
My last message is we are responsible to save this world for future. In the future, they will ask us what they did to save it. Just try to save this world green. That's it.
Excellent. Dr. Reza, any last message to the audience?
My last word to our audience is that we should never think that we have all the answers. History shows us that there is always room for advancement, and especially as the time goes by, we can find better solutions that would not only be compatible with our environment, but also it could save us from many side effects of technologies. Like, for example, nowadays we have these technologies mainly relying on fossil fuels, and many countries are actually planning to transit into sustainable energies. That's a good, a promising future. However, we should not forget that even those so-called new generation of energies could also have some adverse impacts. Therefore, if we continue on thinking, trying to find better solutions, and as Dr. Arezoo said, bear this in mind that what we have here is not our property. It is something that we have the responsibility of passing it to the next generation. And as such, we should keep it, at least not try not to make it worse. At least keep it as it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, both of you. That was a wonderful closeout. It touches in things that we always speak in the podcast with the guests that we have had webinars. And it is really incredible to see how we are now shaping industry in a way that really is solving problems, and that we are getting academia and industry to speak, and that we are speaking kind of the same language. So thank you, both of you, for your time. For everyone that is listening to this, I hope you enjoyed it, and then let us know what you think about in the comments, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Materials Business Podcast. Feel free to visit infinitygrowth.ca to see show notes and explore other episodes. If there's someone you think should hear this episode, please share with them. Take care of yourself and have a great rest of your day.